Welcome to the Fandom Podcast Network special presentation of Time Warp 1984, 40th anniversary of movies and pop culture. And we are discussing October of 1984. My name is Kevin, and I'd like to welcome my guests for this time travel journey. And we got some good stuff here, too. Like I said, this is the Fandom Podcast Network, movies of 1984. And look at that cute picture right there. Oh, look at that. We're all hanging out at the palatial estate of my first guest and co-host, Lacee Adderhold. What is going on? Oh, you are muted right now, so I can't hear what you're saying about your awesome blanket you got going on.
So sorry. I got my super fuzzy Halloween my October blankie with me. So
you are all set for October. I love that.
Yes.
All right. Also, I'm going to welcome to the stage my co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network, Mr. Kyle Wagner. What's up, buddy?
I would just like to say I'm committing podcast history right now, as I am broadcasting from the future site of the underwater city of Atlantis.
Kyle is in Florida, and there's always hurricanes. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I like the fact that the last podcast Lacee was on, she had her pumpkin kitty, and now she has her pumpkin blanket.
Yes, I do have the pumpkin kitty, but the pumpkin kitty is about 5 feet from me, and she's taking a nap. And I feel like if I was to bring her over, there would be great bleeding.
Well, we are doing a October time warp, so that there is a horror movie aspect,
right?
Yeah, we can always use more blood, but let's not use real blood. So yeah, guys, we are also have some other fun stuff here, of course, of time warp topics, basically. So, and a lot of things we've been discussing, of course, is we had our time warp, our NFL Raiders players who acted in movies and TV. Last year, we, of course, did Buffy. And this year, it's been all about 1984. Monthly shows have been a lot of fun diving into all of the films here. A lot of big blockbusters. A lot, of course, B films, WTF films, and cult classics. Last month, of course, we did September. But we are now in October. This is part 10 of Time Warp 1984. And, we need a DeLorean, maybe a hot tub time machine, maybe a flux capacitor, slingshot around the sun aboard a Klingon bird of prey, maybe getting that blue police box, phone booth, step into that quantum leap accelerator. But yeah, let's go ahead. Let's do a little time travel, guys. But let's not time travel to the beginning of the show.
Yeah, we are. This is the Edge of Tomorrow, Kevin.
It's not live, die, repeat. All right. We've got some world news that is kind of noteworthy. October 11th of 84, astronaut Catherine D. Sullivan becomes the first female American to perform a spacewalk. NASA mission STS-41G is also the same mission where Mark Garneau became the first Canadian in space. October 12th, an assassination attempt on Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and her British cabinet happens in Brighton, England. The Provisional Irish Republican Army bombed the hotel where the Prime Minister is staying. Thatcher narrowly escapes, but the attack kills 5 people and injures 31 more. And October 14th, the Detroit Tigers win the Baseball World Series, defeating the San Diego Padres. Kyle, I want to ask you, I've got a sports ball question here. This was kind of like validating the hat that Magnum PI wore, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And what's even more ironic, the baseball playoffs are going on right now, and both the Tigers and the Padres are part of the baseball playoffs.
There you go. Good timing, yeah. Wow. And October 16th, Archbishop Desmond Tutu is awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. There you go. All right. Born in 84. We've got some celebrities that were born in 84 here, guys. Of course, we always like to shout them out. We've got Ashley Simpson, Lindsey Vonn, Aaron Lucas, Katy Perry, Kelly Osbourne, and Brady Quinn, football player. I got pictures of them all here too, so we can see these. And Kyle, who are you waving to there?
Well, I'm wondering, because since we have Ashley Simpson on, are you sure you're not lip syncing this podcast?
Oh, I have 2 pictures of Kelly Osbourne here because she's changed a lot. Doesn't have a little round face anymore, but she's still rocking the purple hair. She loves that. And I think Brady Quinn, Kyle, wasn't he like on a football, like almost all the football teams.
I know he was a big when he was at Notre Dame. Then he went to the Cleveland Browns, and he was kind of never heard from again. He bounced around. I think he actually played at least one season for the Chiefs, but
Yeah. And of course, there's Katy Perry with her, of course, husband Orlando Bloom, otherwise known as Legolas. There you go. All right, let's get in the next segment here. We like to talk some 1984 tech and products here. And I remember this one, Kyle. The Tandy 1000. Woo! The Tandy 1000 was the first line of IBM PC compatible home computer systems produced by the Tandy Corporation for Radio Shack. The Radio Shack Computer Center chain of stores introduced in 1984, discontinued in 1993. And in 1994, $1,200 for the Tandy 1000 offers the same functionality as the PC Junior. Kyle, I got to ask you, a lot of people kind of felt the stuff that came out of Radio Shack was like, if you couldn't afford the real stuff, you got that one.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm kind of looking at that picture on the Tandy, and I'm thinking somebody photoshopped that onto the screen because that looks like way too good graphics for the Tandy.
It's possible. Lacey, you're on mute, but I did want you to answer this question here. What kind of computers did you have around the house? Did you have any Tandy stuff?
No, my dad was big into the idea of the computers. Like the first computer, I don't even know what it was, but I know that we were very excited because there was a little thing you could click where it would change the cursor and the text from green to orange.
That
was the bit like, and then we had the big like 18-inch wide paper printer that had the perforate. You had to perforate the edges. The paper would do this.
Oh yes, I remember that well. You know what's interesting though about this picture of the Tandy? It looks like a generic computer would look like back in the 80s. You know, like if you wanted some set dressing that was cheap in the back or something, you wanted a bunch of computers, you get the Tandy. That's what I kind of feel like.
Of course. What'd you say it was? It was $1,200 back then?
$1,200, yes.
Okay, in 1984, $1,200 would be like.
Yeah, that's pretty pricey.
It is pricey, yes.
For 84, that'd be like today.
I'll let you guys figure that out. I don't have the math.
I'll math.
Next, we have the Super Micro, otherwise known as the PalmTex Portable Video Game System. Cost about $40 in the US. The games cost about $15. The deluxe pack cost $59.95. And yeah, like I said, it was later renamed the Super Micro and distributed under home computer software. It was handheld. And if you look at it, it looks so cute. You open and close it, and it looks like a little toy Palm game. Kyle, did you ever have this?
I never had it, but I feel like I've seen it used in movies as a prop.
Yeah. The picture I have does not show the graphics on it, but I'm going to guess it was black and white and very like 8-bit, maybe 4-bit. I don't know.
Yeah, 8-bit might be pushing it.
All right, let's hit some toys. Sorry to cut you off there, Lacey. What'd you have?
That's okay. I was going to say it's $3,600.
$3,600 now for that Tandy.
Yeah.
If it's in brand new condition, I think it might be worth a little bit more nowadays, though.
No, I'm saying the cost of like buying something for $1,200 then is like $36.
I was making a joke that if you still had it, but I think most of them are in landfills now.
Yeah, probably. Since they were there with the ET cartridges.
Yes. Let's put them next to those ET cartridges. No one will ever look for them. All right, guys, the totally tubular 80s toy segment here. And I always like to highlight a few of them here. Of course, the first one we have here is the My Little Pony and Pegasus. Prices $4.99 each. My Little Pony Unicorn and Pegasus are a glitter with magical fairy dust. Soft manes and tails beg to be brushed with the shooting star brush. A fantasy story comes with each, starting a personal adventure. Also includes ribbon and scented sticker. Choose from Moon Dancer, Sunbeam, Firefly, Glory, Medley, or Twilight. Kyle, which one of these are you buying?
I don't know, but you sounded way too excited as you read that press.
I've had a daughter that collected these, so I know what they're like. You know what? I'm going to go for Glory because go all out. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, do you remember this next one here that's in the middle of the picture? I remember these because I remember the sound they make was addicting. The Popoids Crackbot. Yes, the Popoids Crackbot. Manufacturer was Tomy. $20 it cost. Create your own zany Popoids characters that are totally out of this world. Plastic pieces let you construct exciting adventure toys of your own, snap them together, stretch them out, and bend them into curves. They make funny popping sounds when pulled apart. We have this.
I didn't have it, but I'm going to say something that I'm going to blame on hurricane stress. It was also known as a crackbot because the way the toys and parts of it were shaped, they were also used to make crack pipes.
Whoa, were they?
I think the plastic would have melted, Lacee.
I think Kyle's joking there, but yeah.
I feel like that little piece on the left that has the two little red pieces. Like, if you were to like reinforce that, like, dude,
well,
there's nothing more. There is no one more like.
Let me just say this.
Yeah, wow.
The sound that this made was very interesting. And when you see these pictures on social media saying, I can hear or smell this picture, I can hear that picture because I remember the sound they made. A friend of mine had these, and after a while, those plastics would just rip. But you know what you got? If you were rich and you got your little spoiled kid, you got them the Probe 6 all-terrain vehicle. Price $140. Experience 6 wheeling adventures on the Probe 6 all-terrain vehicles. Travel over paved or unpaved surfaces and does 360-degree turns within its own length. 4 drive wheels powered by 2 heavy 6-volt motors, wild profile tires for stability, high low speed ranges, and a maximum speed of 4 miles per hour. Direction command lever for forward, reverse, and steering control. I remember seeing these. Never saw one in person, though. Anyone?
Never saw one in person. Yep. Kevin, I do have a question about this though, because it sure seems like you mentioned Radio Shack earlier. You know, remember when Radio Shack used to have like a lot of remote control vehicles or program vehicles to do certain things? Is it just me? Does all of their vehicles like that for boys have that same color palette?
They do. That weird kind of reddish, goldish stripe down it, and
gray.
I think this thing was abused, and I think some kids that were older that should not have been in these probably took them for joyrides. I'm just saying.
It's the boy half of the rainbow. They take the yellow, orange, green, the yellow, orange, red, and then they add brown and black to it to make it the boy end of the rainbow.
Yep.
Well, but here's the thing. Truthfully, the truth behind this vehicle is this was Dom Toretto's first vehicle, and he figured out how to put nitrous in it, and it was all Fast and Furious from there.
I would say it was more furious, not really fast, maybe, but he was capable of making it fast. So good call, yeah. All right, guys.
Yeah, if it only went 4 miles an hour, though, the ones today go like 8 or 10 miles an hour. The little
Power Oils, yeah.
They're solid.
I didn't get my land speeder. I was bummed about that one. So all right, next, guys. One of my favorite segments, 1984 music and music news. We got some fun ones here. So first of all, I vaguely remember this. October 1st, the Canadian music video series Video Hits premieres on CBC television with host Samantha Taylor. Look at that. She's so cute. Look at that. Hosting videos. You guys remember this at all?
I remember her. I don't remember this particular show, though.
I don't remember either one. Who is she? Is she a host, or was she
Samantha Taylor is the host? Yes.
But was she a musician that became a host, or was she?
No.
She always a host?
I think she was just a host. I think she was a school host. Yeah, but obviously she was the face of it for a while. So it was, it's basically the Canadians' version of was it whatever besides our MTV and our other
Friday Night Lights or what was it? Friday Night Hits or whatever it was.
Yeah, definitely. So they had to there had to be other venues that were showing videos and songs and stuff, and of course they were showcasing a lot of the musicians that came out of Canada that didn't quite hit big elsewhere, but I'm sure some obviously crossed over, as we saw, like Bryan Adams on those. And also, hey guys, did you ever call up a radio station and go, "Hi, my name's Kyle. I really like Janine, and I would really like to give out that Stevie Wonder song I just called to say I love you"? Kyle, did you do that with Janine?
No, I just took the mixtape and called Janine and put it in the boombox and hit play when she answered the phone.
Also from the original soundtrack album, The Woman in Red, we have Stevie Wonder right here. October 13th, Stevie Wonder reaches the Billboard #1 in the U.S. with his song, Just Called to Say I Love You. That's still a great song. Still a great song. You remember that one, right, Lacey?
Oh, yeah. There are very few songs that I do remember, but the ones that do, I remember very well.
Another thing that came into our consciousness, thanks to this gentleman here, October 23rd, BBC News presenter Michael Bjork reports on famine in Ethiopia, which has already claimed thousands of lives. As a result, numerous charities across the world begin raising funds to support the millions of Ethiopians affected by famine. Singer Bob Geldof views the heartbreaking report and eventually forms the Band-Aid supergroup. More information about this can be read at the end of the 1984 timeline. And we're going to be coming back to this, but I do have a picture here of all the people that were in that band. And I'm just going to tease that right now. It's a lot of big ones, and we'll get into that in November of 1984. So there you go. Now, everyone was getting into the Music Channel news, guys. This one's funny. October 26th, Turner Broadcasting System launches Cable Music Channel, TBS, a music video channel intended to compete directly with MTV. The first video played is I Love LA by Randy Newman. However, it would only last 34 days.
Okay.
Wow.
Can we just comment on the irony of a music show coming on Turner Broadcasting System, which is a very much Southern area, and their first music video is I Love LA?
I know, right?
That's what, but Ted's the one who brought it in, you know.
Hey,
right?
he tried. He tried. There you go. All right. As music continues, the top songs of 1984 are Billboard Top 100, and we have been picking a few at a time, and we're getting near the end here, guys, so you can start recognizing most of these songs. And we have number 23 through 16. At number 23 is Hold Me Now by the Thompson Twins, Say It Isn't So by Daryl Hall and John Oates, Let's Go Crazy by Prince and the Revolution, Self-Control by Laura Branigan, Talking in Your Sleep by the Romantics, Jump for My Love by the Pointer Sisters, Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper, and The Reflex at number 16 with Duran Duran. Now, Lacey, I know you're not the music expert of this group, but you do recognize a few of these, I hope?
Yes, I recognize Let's Go Crazy, but Prince was mean to me once, so whatever. Hold Me Now, remember that one. The one that I really remember the most would be The Reflex, I think. And I went and saw Duran Duran, like, 5 or 6 years ago when they did like their 30-year tour or whatever. They did not play The Reflex, and I was
say what?
They did.
Are you serious?
They did not play.
Wow.
They didn't play Hungry. They didn't play any of like the huge hits, and I was
That's
like,
weird.
"How come you did that?" I was very upset.
Kyle, what are some of your favorites on this list?
I always have a soft spot for the Pointer Sisters. Jump for My Love is always a good one. Obviously, Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper, absolutely huge hit. Hall & Oates fans to say it isn't so, but really, I mean, come on. There's all great songs on here, but then there's Let's Go Crazy. And I mean, that's just iconic. That's one of the top 5 Prince songs of all time.
Oh yeah, that Prince album is a banger. It's awesome. I Time After Time is a great song by Cyndi Lauper. My favorite though of this list, it's an underrated one, and it's one of my favorite 80s bands, is the Romantics' Talking in Your Sleep. I love that song. I remember that was a song that turned me on to the Romantics. And I just love their look too. They all kind of had that cool like leather look and the black hair, and they look badass. So yeah.
When you're, because just remember when you're talking in your sleep. I have to ask Aaron about that sometime.
There was a lot of like creepy "I'm watching you" songs. I know the Police had one. And,
Every breath you take.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be watching you. Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff going on. So yeah,
The 80s were the decade of the stalker song.
yes.
Stalker song, buddy. The Stalker movie. We are getting ready to talk about it. Like,
oh yes. We've got some TV here, guys. All right, so we have some October television shows that premiere. Now, you guys remember the last episode of Time Warp in September was a huge year for TV premieres. As you, of course, elaborated on, Kyle, it was huge for cartoons, Saturday morning cartoons, fandom related stuff. There are some, obviously, Transformers and GoBots and all those. And then we had, of course, Miami Vice and a bunch of other great TV dramas as well. But there were some that started to trickle out in October as well. And there's some that we know, and there's some that I had to kind of look up. And the first one, of course, is Charles in Charge. Premiered October 3rd, went for 5 seasons. Charles, a college student, is a live-in housekeeper in the Powell household. Charles, along with his friend Buddy, attempts to juggle his studies, friendship, and duties of the family. And of course, starring Scott Baio, Willie Ames, and Nicole Eggert, who I believe joins the cast a little bit later, Kyle.
So 2 things about Charles in Charge. First, it was one of the few shows that successfully changed almost 90% of its cast from season 1 to the remaining seasons because they changed families. And that's
it was just Scott and Willie, right?
That
carried over?
Yeah, that carried over. Yeah. And then they brought in Nicole Eggert, Josie Davis, and a few other people. 2, I think this is a very valid question. Scott Baio, more well-known for Charles or more well-known for Chachi?
He's more well known for Charles now because of all the indictments that came from all the women on the show.
Yeah. He was a womanizer.
Not for nothing, but he and Willie Ames had some things to discuss, to defend, because there's some serious allegations that are still, I think, being discussed.
Yeah. I would say Charles in Charge, whether it's on that negative side or positive side, but I remember that everyone was watching Charles in Charge, and if you're a guy, you were watching it for Nicole Eggert, and the other girl, if you're girls, you were crushing on Scott Baio. Willie Ames now has found religion, of course. But yeah, there was a lot of weird stuff going on there, to answer your question.
Yeah. It's amazing how people who are interested in very young children all of a sudden find religion often.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I didn't watch this show. It was never one that I think I was either just too young not to care. Like, it wasn't on my radar. I was 11. So it probably wasn't one, like the family shows really weren't.
I was of the right age range for sure. It definitely, I was, though, Kyle, I have a feeling though, didn't it like come on at like weird times? Like,
at
least it did in syndication, I think.
Yeah. I don't ever remember it actually being on a network television show. I always remember it being on like syndication, or a lot of times I'd see it on like WGN Superstation out of Chicago or something like that. But I don't ever remember it ever being like, I think it was kind of one of those early syndication shows where it was just like, it's not full syndication, but it's not coming on any primetime channels either. Yeah.
All right, the next show, and I have a feeling a song or two might have been born because of it. This is Out of Control. Premiered on Nickelodeon, only lasted 25 episodes. More famously, it stars Dave Coulier, of course, Full House fame. Dave and his friends host a zany sketch comedy variety show for kids. Maybe he was dating someone by the name of Alanis Morissette. Maybe stuff happened.
If you match up the times, we already are talking about Nickelodeon and Canadian shows. There was another particular Canadian show also being aired by Nickelodeon at this time that did star at one point in Miss Alanis Morissette, and that was called You Can't Do That on Television.
That's what I'm referring to, Kyle. Yes, well played. I am sure maybe they were walking through the hall, started dating, and maybe went to the movies.
You Can't Do That on Television. Is that the one with the green slime?
I don't know. Wait. Oh, crap. if you don't remember, I don't know.
Zach Morris, timeout. Sorry.
Yeah.
Did anyone get my movies joke?
Is that the song about being dirty in the movie theater?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to
Boy.
admit, the other day, somebody asked me if I wanted to go to a concert, and they gave me all these things and telling me about the person, and I was like, I don't know who that is. And they were like, what makes Alanis Morissette sound like happy and fun? And I was like, I don't know who that is. The only thing I know about Alanis Morissette is that she dated Dave Coulier and that she played God in a Kevin Smith movie. So they
And had one of the biggest selling albums of the 90s, and also Taylor Hawkins from Foo Fighters was her drummer, and I saw them play.
Right, but she played a song for me, and it wasn't until the chorus that I was like, "Oh, yeah, I think I've heard this."
I don't, guys. I'm just gonna say it's feeling a little ironic around here.
That's how she did there. All right, let's get into some game show action here. The game shows are popping up all the time. What I find funny too. Okay, this is called Trivia Trap. Came out October 8th, 1984. Lasted one season, but because it was a daily trivia thing, 128 episodes were done. And we had host Bob Eubanks and Bob Hilton and Gene Wood. And of course, I got a cool picture there of Betty White being a contestant, because that's what you did. You made, if you were an actor, you made the game show rounds back during this time because they were so popular. And it was two teams of three members, each compete to select answers to trivia questions in a variety of games. I have no memory of this, guys. Do you?
No,
Yes.
I don't. But it brings up a question I have for both of you. Ruling out the Price is Right, because that's just on a whole other level. What was your game
Press
show
your luck.
when you
Press your luck.
the
Press
whammy?
your effing luck. That was mine.
Was there an end to the question? It sounded like you were going to give a caveat to that. Like
That's my
the only
fault. I
caveat was
interrupted.
that the Price is Right is on a whole other level, so we're eliminating that.
Okay.
What was your other game show like if you were homesick as a kid?
Oh man, well, homesick. I would do cartoons, but if I was going to watch, it was Scrabble. I liked the Scrabble show.
I was
And
Password was one I was high on.
Yeah, the license plate one was really cool too.
Yeah.
That is Trivia Trap. It didn't last very long. Okay, guys, I had to look this up. I found some episodes on YouTube. Someone had put them together with some commercials that they had probably recorded on a VHS tape. And this is called Dreams. It was on CBS, came out October 10th, 84, with 13 episodes only. And it was about a welder. Gino Minelli is a charismatic singer of the Philadelphia band Dreams. Gino is joined by guitarist writer Phil, drummer Wiener, and vocalist Martha. Lisa, a rich girl with a powerful voice, joins them at Uncle Frank's Club. Stars John Stamos as welder Gino Minelli, Jamie Gertz as backup singer and musician, and Kane DeVore. Did you guys see this at all?
No,
But
I have nothing.
I'm guessing they killed about 5 cans of Aquanet just on Jamie Gertz's hair for a scene.
That's impressive. That photo is impressive.
I've got to bring this up too, because seeing this, it reminds me. It seems like every decade they try to do a show about a band, and we have Dreams here. I always go to the Fox show when they were kind of trying to spin stuff off when they had 90210 and Melrose Place. The show The Heights, which put out
actually had a number one song
performed by Jamie Walters before he went to 90210, which was "How Do You Talk to an Angel?"
Yes, I have a funny side story about that. Yes, I don't know if it's appropriate here, but yes.
You'll have to tell me later.
All right, guys, this one came into my lexicon over the last 5 or 6 years, and stuff happened. This is V, the television series, which debuted on MTV October 26th. And Lacey, I'm going to hide the picture here. What have you got there? Look at that. Is that the entire series? The entire season 1, 19 episodes?
No, it's the entire, it's the entire complete series. With
the movie?
Yep. Mark Singer and all the fun crazies.
Nice. I have that collection sitting right over there.
Yes,
Kyle, you want to do a Zach Morris timeout here and get somewhere with this?
Yeah. V is the cause of one of the most controversial moments in Fandom Podcast Network history. We literally had to take Kevin to Fandom trial and Fandom court over V because he had never, ever in his life seen V to that point.
There was another movie that was attached to that too. Do you remember, Kyle?
I'm trying to remember now. I got
it was Beastmaster.
That's right. That was right.
And do you want to say what happened?
Yeah, Kevin Foote was found guilty. Of course, our judge was somebody who wasn't even born when V.
No. Michael Morris, friend of the show and network, was so side by himself that I had never seen V or Beastmaster, and came onto our show and put me on trial for maybe losing my fandom card. But you ruled in my favor, though, Kyle. I eventually did watch it. I watched the entire series. Absolutely loved it. Watched Beastmaster. Kicked myself for not watching it sooner. But yes, V the TV series. So real quick, V the TV series, do you guys think that it did the movie justice?
I think it was a great continuation of the miniseries, the two miniseries that they did. The problem with it is it got canceled and it ended on a massive cliffhanger that never.
Oh, just like the remake did later on.
Yep. Yeah. So tradition follows it, but it was very interesting because they took a couple characters and aged them up, and of course, I'm more Diana on my screen. I'm not going to complain about, even if she was a lizard.
So the remake, Kyle, was that the sci-fi series? If I remember correctly, with Laura.
No, that was ABC. NBC did the original V. ABC, and I think there was actually a tie-in with the Sci-Fi Channel for a little while too. But there was 2 seasons of the original V, the new V series, which of course starred Morena Baccarin.
Yeah.
I loved that series, and they even brought back Mark Senior in the last few episodes.
Jane Badler came back as well in that,
and they left it on a freaking cliffhanger. Canceled it.
Yep.
I was so mad. All right, guys. We got just a little bit more TV to talk about. Our top rated shows. We pick a couple at a time. And the first one is Family Ties. This one was bringing in the ratings. About 22 million viewers. Ran from 82 to 89, a total of 7 seasons. And that is a round of 84. Or about time 84 is when the 3rd season came out. I always like to show the TV guide picture of them as well. That's kind of fun. This was must see for me, guys. Our family was around the TV all the time, Kyle.
Oh yeah, I mean it was all about Michael J. Fox and Oxby Keaton. But the funny thing is, when they originally created this show was supposed to be centered around Meredith Baxter Birney's character.
Yeah,
and Michael J. Fox was Michael J. Fox, and he just unintentionally stole the show. But I mean, this is, to me,
the kids took over. If you think about it, they all were great.
Yeah. This is one of the most important family comedies of all time. I truly believe that.
What do you think, Lacey?
I watched this show because, well, Keaton was hilarious, of course, but Scott Valentine.
Yeah, yes. Scott Valentine and his earring and mullet.
Yes, and I have to say that later on in 2001 or 2, I was working in a talent agency, and he was one of the talent, and he called in one day on Valentine's Day, and I answered the phone. I said, "Happy Valentine's Day," and he was like, "Well, from one Valentine to another." And he was just the nicest guy. He actually hung up after he did his thing. He called me back to say, "I just wanted to say that you were just so nice and so bubbly, and most people who answer the phone in this industry are just kind of grumpy." And he was just the
That's sweet. You said from one Valentine to another.
Yeah, he said that. He said from one Valentine to another.
If I remember correctly, his career got kind of sidetracked because he was in a pretty bad motorcycle accident.
Don't know.
But I don't know. He went and did some kind of low budget 90s films. I think I have one of them on
My Demon Lover.
Yeah, I think that was it. Yes, yeah.
Yes, I love it.
It was always appointment television. They always had the special 2-part episodes too, and they'd talk about something serious. I remember Matthew Perry being on there.
Tom Hanks,
of course. Yeah. Also, Courtney Cox was the girlfriend for a little while. This was just great television, and I liked that the parents were hippies, and raising these kids. I was crushing on Justine Bateman as well. So yeah, it was just a great show. Still love watching it from time to time. So yeah. The next highest rated show, guys, we had the A-Team. Ran from 83 to 87, a total of 5 seasons. I got to tell you guys, it just started on one of the pay channels that I have, and the reboot of A-Team in 2010 with Liam Neeson and of course the new cast. Really, actually enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, it was a fun movie.
I remember going to the midnight premiere of that, and the reason why I remember seeing the midnight premiere of that A-Team movie was that it was the one time that I was able to squeeze in 8 movies in one day in the theaters. You know, where you go pay for one in the morning and then you sneak and watch. And then the midnight movie was the A-Team. And I saw 8 movies in one day. Lacey.
I have accomplished the 8 movies in one day.
You did?
I have done it. I bought all.
Oh, 8 movies, 1 day club. Woo, virtual high five.
I did buy all my tickets because I'm a wuss that way.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
But I first saw the A-Team, what was it, 2010, I guess, or 2009. I saw that one in France when it opened in France.
Oh, wow.
I was very impressed because Bradley Cooper did his own French because he's fluent in French. And it surprisingly translates very well into French. A lot of times comedy doesn't translate well.
Right.
But it was
fun. Good reboot. But man, didn't we love the intro to this TV series, the music? And I don't know if anyone ever got shot, but it was always about B.A. Baracus having been drugged to fly, right?
Well, I just want you to know I'm still trying to find them because nobody else can help.
I remember one of the coolest things was going to Universal Studios and seeing the A-Team van there. And they had it set up on the special like winch thing where anyone could like lift it up and be strong. It was pretty cool. I loved it.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
Very
all right,
cool.
guys. Well, guess what? This is the Fandom Podcast Network, and this is Time Warp, the movies of 1984. I think it's movie time. We are celebrating the movies in October of 1984, otherwise known as the Spooky Month. But we got more weird movies in this one. This is going to be interesting. We do have one movie event that happened October 8th. Ned Tanen becomes president of Paramount Pictures, a motion picture group. We also have some celebrity film debuts that we always mention a few at a time. Emmanuel Seigneur was in The Year of the Jellyfish. Charlie Sheen was in Red Dawn. Craig Sheffer was in Voyage of the Rock Aliens, and Alexander Skarsgård was in Ake and His World. I don't know if I pronounced that right.
But Kevin, I think that Skarsgård family, they're going to go far.
Yeah, they do things. They're good. Yeah. They know good things and stuff like that. So yeah, but let's get into the movies, guys. And the first one, wow, we got to talk about this one. I have never seen this movie before, and when I wanted to get a copy of it and to watch it, but I had interest in this because the lead actress in this is Tawny Kitaen, and this is The Perils of Gwendoline in the Land of the Yik Yak, made around a little over 1,300,000 in its initial theatrical run, and it's got several different posters showing things. And Lacey, which one do you have there? I want to show you what you got there. Okay, so that's what I have. That one. That's
standard. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is the DVD. Now, before I go in about the DVD covers here, Gwendoline, a runaway nun, arrives in Hong Kong on a mission to find her father, who was last seen in the legendary land of the Yik Yak, searching for a rare butterfly. She's guided on her perilous journey by a selfish mercenary named Willard. And the poster says, "Adventure without shame, a lost civilization where no man has ever been, and for good reason." That is this version, the poster that we got here in the States, that looks like a nice little Indiana Jones ripoff, fun for the family. Not so much.
Sure does. It looks that way, huh?
Starring Tawny Kitaen, Brent Huff, and Zabu Britman, French actress. So, a little backstory here. I learned about this film because I'm a fan of Tawny Kitaen. Of course, she was wonderful in Bachelor Party that we've already covered here with Tom Hanks, where she was the bride to be. Most people in my genre know her as the ultimate video vixen for hair metal videos. She's the one flopping around on those nice cars in the White Snake videos. She was in more than one of those. She was on the cover of the Rat album, I think, Out of the Cellar. She married White Snake lead singer David Coverdale. Did a really kind of low budget horror film called Ouija Board, I think it was. More famous for that, Kyle, but you know what? She did this film here.
Well, wait, Kevin, don't forget she also was married to Major League Baseball player Chuck Finley for a very long time.
Yes, this is true. This is true. Now, I found this one, but you can find other copies of the DVD than this one I'm holding up here, like the one you have here, Lacey. And I'm just going to show this for our video viewer audiences. So if you're listening to this, you got to watch it. So this one is the Blu-ray special release here. Okay. Now, the outfit that she is wearing there, and there is a butterfly that is strategically placed there because she shows a little bit of boobies there, just so you know. And then if you look at the slip case of the DVD, is a scene from the film where a lot of skin is shown. And the Blu-ray also has some pictures of a French risque magazine that has a very risque photo shoot of the actresses in this. I guess you could say that they end up going to this land of the Yik Yak that is run by women, scantily clad women, not all of them wearing clothes, doing some weird stuff, mining some weird things, and there's this rare butterfly thing going on. Lacey, what do you got?
It's basically what would happen if the women of Themyscira had...
Hold on. What's Themyscira?
Wonder Woman's
island.
Thank you.
Or maybe like the Amazons, whatever you want to call it, it's if they had a jail cell full of men that they used for procreation.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, they would have to have a diamond mine that didn't actually do anything, and it was very technologically advanced for being in the middle of a jungle and a desert, which is fantastic. It was in the middle of a jungle and a desert. Haven't figured out how that happened.
Yep. Yeah.
Kyle, can you bring up the slide again? Because you had a different cover on the slide, and there's something I need to point out on that cover.
Yes.
So on the one, if you're looking at your screen, it's on the left-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
From the people who made, basically it's translated, the people who made Emmanuel. If you're a red-blooded American man, you see that, you know exactly what the content of this movie is going to be.
Well,
so the director,
it says Barbarella meets Indiana Jones.
Yeah, pretty much. That's a great way to put it. Basically, the director, and he's French. His name is it's spelled J-U-S. Sorry, I was talking and you were talking. Go ahead, Lacey.
Just Chacun is his name.
If you were to just read it phonetically, it says just Jakin. But yeah, say it again. It's just
Chacun. Yeah, it's just Jackin, basically.
Yeah. But yes, Emmanuel is a very sexy film. Yes, Kyle. And was a very popular rental if you could get it. And this movie is very it's basically an R-rated Indiana Jones ripoff, pretty much. But I have to give it credit for one thing. The land of the Yik Yak and the sets were pretty darn cool. The way it was set up, and they did some kind of fun trickery with that, I guess. Kyle, I know you want to say a comment, and I'd like you to read the trivia.
Yeah. If this movie comes out 3 years later, it is the king of Skinamax.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So a little
Lacey, did you want to say something? You put your finger up.
Yes. Did you watch the interview on the
Yes.
DVD? Okay, so they spent 18 weeks filming this movie. They had 3 months of prep. They actually of rehearsals, and they spent a year prior to filming building the sets, which were interchangeable, and they could fly out walls at any point.
Yeah.
Basically making it. This is a 1980s movie that looks like a 1980s movie. They spent 18 weeks filming this. That is how long it takes to film like Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. There it was. Yep. This is an event. That's a lot. Yeah.
Kevin's gonna get us banned off of YouTube shortly because he keeps holding that cover up.
Kyle, hit us up with some trivia.
Yeah. Inspired by a cartoon strip which first appeared in the U.S. magazine Bizarre way back in 1946. And according to the director, the final temple location of the film was actually shot on one stage with rollaway walls that were dressed and rearranged before each scene to give the appearance of many different rooms.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job of that. Visually, obviously visually because it's got a lot of nudity in it. But besides the nudity, visually it is very interesting. I wasn't bored, but I just thought it was one of the weirdest films I have ever seen.
And one more thing. I can't decide if the dialogue is so awful because it was from an actual comic book, a comic strip, because that's kind of you get 3 or 4 words here and there, or if it was written by a 14-year-old Parisian goth kid.
It's funny you say that. There was a lot of dubbing over people's real voices in this, especially the Queen lady. It was obvious.
Yes.
So I think there was some stuff that was lost in translation as well.
Well, all of it was apparently all of the people were in French, and the only 2 people that spoke English were Tawny Katane and the Willard.
Brent Huff, I think is his name.
Yeah. And those 2 people spoke English, but it's funny because I actually at one point I was like watching, I was like, so I muted it and I actually could read lip the French.
Nice.
Lip read, lip read. Whatever.
What I'm wondering though is how many families thought that this was just a fun adventure flick and took their kids to go see it.
Well, I mean, it does have the R on the bottom, but I think in France it was probably a 14 plus, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
It was 15.
It definitely deserves its R rating for sure.
Yeah, but in Europe, they don't have a problem with nudity. They have a problem with guns. We have no problem with guns. It's all about cover up your boobies. So over there, nobody cared.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. All right, guys. Next film we have. Oh, by the way, I did have a picture of the original Betamax of the version of Gwendoline's Apparel, and you would have to rent from the movie theater. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Say this right. The Betamax that you would have to rent from your video store. There you go. Found a copy of it. This was on eBay. Someone's selling this. So
wow.
That's
a lot, man.
All right. The next film is called Savage Streets. The poster says, the only law is an eye for an eye. Savage Streets. A teen vigilante seeks revenge on a group of violent thugs who rape her handicapped sister and kill her best friend. Directed by Danny Steinman and Tom DeSimone. Of course, starring Linda Blair, John Vernon, Robert Dreyer. Kyle, hit us up with some trivia first.
Arrow Video released this movie on DVD, fully uncut for the first time in the UK in 2011. However, many of the copies were destroyed in a fire at a warehouse during the London riots in the same year. The DVD is now considered rare and is highly sought after by collectors. Either of you guys own it?
I don't know if I do. I didn't see it downstairs. I
think they reissued it. I think this is the one they reissued. The one that they're talking about. I know it is, but the one that I'm holding here in my hand is a reissue, I think.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of interesting casting news. Cherry Curry, who was the lead singer of the Runaways, was originally cast as Brenda. Brink Stevens also auditioned for the role of Heather alongside good friend Leanna Quigley, who ended up getting the role instead. Brink actually drove Leanna to the audition. During the film's premiere in New York City, Linda Blair made appearances at both the RKO Warner and the Lowe's Orpheum to meet fans and give away soundtrack albums and photos.
The soundtrack is actually pretty cool. It's a little bit of a nasty film, I'll be honest with you guys, but the cool thing, and Linda Blair gets a lot of fan traction on this because it is kind of like your revenge flick, and yes, there's it's got your typical nudity in it, and it's got your thugs getting their up and comings by her, and she really knows how to use a crossbow well in this one. She gets big on revenge on this, and whenever she makes conventions appearance, we get a lot of people hitting her up for Savage Streets, and I like it. Like I said, though, it is nasty, but it is so 80s. What they're wearing, the music, the settings, and of course, this is what your typical 80s B movie revenge flick kind of flavor. This is obviously a very popular video rental for obvious reasons. Anyone else seen this?
I've never seen it. I've seen it in a lot of like books and video history things. Linda Blair had such a bizarre career.
Yeah, I read the back of it and I was like, nah.
Yeah, it's a tough watch at times. There was a really cool interview though with Linda Blair in there. I just watched that one, and she talked about her filming on it and some of the great lines that she had. And she does come back and kick some ass in this as well. And filmed in and around LA, Hollywood area, so I recognize a lot of locations, including Supply Sergeant, which was a very popular chain of Army Navy stores. We can get some really cool stuff that was filmed in there as well. So, all right, next we have Teachers. Tried to find this, guys. Could not just watch some clips from YouTube, but I remember this film. Made a decent amount of money, a little over $27 million in the theaters. And a teacher overcomes his frustration in a high school full of flunkies. As he attempts to educate his students, his attempts to help him gets him into trouble with the school board, which only adds to his problems. With the support of his students, he beats the school board with his frustration. Director Arthur Miller. Stars Nick Nolte, Jo Beth Williams, Judd Hirsch, Ralph Macchio, Laura Dern, and an early appearance by Morgan Freeman. Kyle, hit us up with some trivia, please.
So in an unusual move at the end of the film, the picture cuts to an advertisement for the movie's soundtrack album just before the rest of the closing credits roll. Jo Beth Williams said the scene where she runs fully nude in the school hallway was incredibly difficult to do because she had to do it several times in front of a large crew and several cast members, including young actors playing the high school kids. She said, "It was quite awkward, but I'm an actress and I was being paid to do that job. The scene was intense and my discomfort with it probably fed the intensity." The movie featured Morgan Freeman in an early film role as school defense lawyer Al Lewis. Freeman would go on to play a teacher in Lean on Me in 1989. But let us not forget Morgan Freeman also taught us so many things as Easy Reader.
It taught us what, Kyle?
So many things as Easy Reader from the Electric Company.
Ah, yes. I don't remember seeing this in the theater. I can't remember, but I do remember seeing it. It was rated R film. I just remember I really liked Nick Nolte as the lead in this, and you got to see Ralph Macchio in this too, which is cool. Of course, he was probably 38 when he filmed this because he was 39 going into Karate Kid. I'm joking, of course, but obviously older than he was.
Well,
But
he's pulling off Cobra Kai at 70 quite well, Kevin.
There you go. Yeah. But, there was a lot of these movies about problem kids in schools, and whether they're vigilantes or just teachers working in really tough schools. And this was one of them too. But, he really, Nick Nolte's performance in this, I remember, and I was watching some of the clips on YouTube because I couldn't find the movie without paying for it somewhere. He had some really good speeches, especially the end speech, where he's telling the parole board, like, we're here for them. They're not here for us, that type of thing. And I remember the Jo Beth Williams famous running down the hall naked scene. I can't remember what leads up to it. Lacey, have you seen Teachers?
I know I've seen it. I think I probably saw it on like HBO a few years later or something.
Yeah.
That was, like I said, I was 11, so I would not have been able to watch this as a rated R film. All the movies that we've seen that are rated R so far, I watched later on. But I do remember, I feel like I probably was flipping channels and I saw Ralph Macchio and I was like, oh, I wonder what this is. I feel like I don't know that I've ever seen the whole thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I might have caught like a piece of it because I definitely remember the hat, but I don't know if that's from that other Crossroads movie.
Oh, he wore a hat in Crossroads too.
Yeah. I feel like that's the same hat that he wore. Not super.
Kyle, have you seen this?
Again, I'm like Lacey. I know I've seen this. It was probably on HBO at the time. Again, it's not something I would have gone to the theaters or probably even rented at the time. But it's also how many movies on HBO were we suckered into watching because Ralph Macchio was in it? It was like, oh, the Karate Kid is in this. This has got to be good.
I just remember the iconic Teachers poster, the original one, where it shows the apple with the fuse lit like it's a bomb, and it's just like it kind of teaches you something like, no pun
intended.
Yeah, so there you go. All right, guys, next one, Songwriter. Didn't make a lot of money, and I think it made about $865,000 in its theatrical run, and the poster says, and this, of course, has Chris Christopherson and Willie Nelson in it, looking at each other, sharing some headphones, listening to music. It says, he got mad when they took his money and his business. But when they tried to take his songs, nobody ever had a better time getting even. Songwriter. Starring Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson. Rest in peace. We just lost you. Leslie Ann Warren, Rip Torn, and Melinda Dillon. Directed by Alan Rudolph. And basically it's Doc Jenkins is a country star who's become fed up with the industry. That is the Willie Nelson character. With some help from his old friends, he attempts to right some wrongs and get back on the ruthless promoter who swindled him. I just saw this for the first time yesterday. I found it on Tubi, I think it was, for free, or one of those free ones. And, I was kind of missing Chris Christopherson because we just lost him. And I was kind of curious about this. And I'm going to let you read the trivia first, Kyle, because I don't want to tease or spoil that because of how the movie is based on it.
Yeah. Well, this movie was based a little bit more on real life than what people realize, because back in the 1970s, Willie Nelson had grown discontented with the role that those in the music industry in Nashville had tried to impose upon him. He left the country music capital and moved back to his native Texas. Sitting around in a hotel room in Austin with longtime friend Edward Bud Shrake, the two devised a story about a songwriter who was going through hard times trying to find himself. That discussion and several others following it would be the beginning of the script of Songwriter. In fact, the very hotel in which the two first spoke would later serve to lodge the cast and crew of the film. Now, both Willie Nelson and Chris Christopherson wrote over a dozen original songs for the movie, all performed live on film by the two singers, as well as their leading lady co-stars Melinda Dillon and Leslie Ann Warren. And finally, Chris Christopherson and the picture got Oscar nominated for an Academy Award in the category of Best Music Original Song Score up against Jeff Moss for The Muppets Take Manhattan. But unfortunately, both of them lost out to Prince for Purple Rain 1984.
Dope! Prince was like, nope, that's mine. Lacey.
Is this the beginning of The Highwaymen? Like, is this what led to them kind of...
I don't know, but that is a good question. That is a very good question.
Look at me. I want everyone to note that I knew a thing about music that involved two human people that were individual musicians.
The Highwayman was the kind of country super group that these two were in with several others.
With Waylon Jennings and Waylon, Willie, Chris.
Yeah, I can't remember this. Was Cash in that one? Johnny Cash? I don't know.
No, that was the Traveling Wilburys.
Okay.
No, that wasn't.
No. Well, anyway, so I watched this and it was okay. It's a little boring at times. I'm not a big fan of the country music, and I wasn't a big fan of some of the songs that they were playing, but some of them were okay. But what I found really interesting was I thought Willie Nelson was really good in this because he's basically playing himself to what really happened to him. But what I like about this film is it really teaches you that if you give up your songwriting rights and just want to live off your fame, you're not going to make all the money you can make. And that's what it's all about. The royalties you get from songwriting. And a lot of people got swindled early in the rock and roll days and probably still do. You want to hold on to your catalog, as they say. And that's what Willie Nelson does. He stops performing and he, I think it's Leslie Ann Warren and Melinda Dillon. They become the performers, and he writes the songs that they sing. And then he starts making some money off that because that's what happened. He got swindled by losing his rights to a previous manager. I also want to say, I love Rip Torn in anything that he's in. He kind of plays the manager, and he's very funny. He kind of looks like Waylon Jennings in this too, as well. And he has some very funny moments, especially Life on the Road. Just Rip Torn is just a wonderful gift to movies.
If you can dodge a wrench.
I looked it up. It was Johnny Cash in The Highwaymen, and I was mistaking him for Roy Orbison from the Traveling Wilburys. My bad.
Gotcha. But I'm glad you brought that up because I'm wondering if maybe, this might have started.
The beginning of them kind of.
Yeah, there you go. All right, next song, guys. I'll be honest, this one's my fault. I went down the rabbit hole of Diane Franklin films, and I wanted to see as many Diane Franklin's movies as I could because she was one of my crushes, movie crushes. Of course, I think the first one I remember seeing her in, of course, was Better Off Dead. And then, of course, Last American Virgin. And, of course, as one of the princess babes from, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Yeah. Well, I found this film called Second Time Lucky. Here's the thing, though. It was only released in Australia and then in video in the States. And the poster says, what would have happened to love and sex if Adam hadn't taken the bite? And the premise of this song, and by the way, it stars Diane Franklin, Roger Wilson, and Robert Morley. What happens is there's a new wager between heaven and hell. Devil bets God that if God were to pick two young people to be the new Adam and Eve, they'd sin again. God accepts and sends a college couple to various eras, starting with the Garden of Eden. I found this movie kind of charming, just because they're sending it kind of actually reminded me a little bit of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, where they go to these different time eras to pick up all the famous time people. But they're sending this college couple and putting them into different scenarios throughout time to see if, they can live up to the challenge of this bet. And of course, it's a rated PG film, but there's nudity in it. It's one of those 80s films.
It's biblical nudity, so it's okay.
I guess. But yes, you do get to see Diane Franklin showing her stuff there, and a little bit of other stuff. But Kyle, give us some trivia on Second Time Lucky. And yes, I do have a DVD right here.
Yeah. Well, you kind of hit on it, the fact that it was rated PG, even though it did contain gratuitous amounts of nudity and sexual innuendo in the film. But this becomes a whole different movie if this happens. Bo Derek was originally considered to play Eve, while her husband, John Derek, was initially slated to direct. The project was then entitled Eve and the Damned Apple. We know about Bo Derek and John Derek and their bizarre history of filmmaking together. Let's just be glad this probably didn't happen. That was probably a good thing. So, and of course, as Kevin mentioned, the film went straight to home video in the United States.
I don't remember it on video at all. I discovered this film for the first time doing the research for this month.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I actually had finished this month of notes. I came across this film because I was looking at Diane Franklin's stuff. And I'm like, which ones have I haven't not seen? I'm like, what's this movie? And I found out, and it came out in 84. I'm like, holy crap. And I found out when it came out in 84, and then I slid it into the notes, to be honest with you. It's cute, especially the different scenarios they put in there. No, not great, but Diane Franklin, cute as a button. Anyway. All right, guys. Next film, Crimes of Passion. This one came out October 19th. Made almost $3 million in its original theatrical run. The poster says her name is China Blue. She is watched, she is worshipped, and she must remain a mystery. A Ken Russell film starring Kathleen Turner, Anthony Perkins, as I said, directed by Ken Russell, also co-starring Bruce Davidson, the lovely Annie Potts, and basically it's a mysterious woman, fashion designer by day and a prostitute by night, is hounded by two men, a married father of two children, and a sexually repressed preacher. You want to guess who plays what? If you haven't seen it.
Oh, well, it gets even more interesting when we get into the trivia.
Please give us the trivia, because I got a couple of notes on this.
So, according to Kathleen Turner, Anthony Perkins would sniff a form of nitrate before each take. That sounds about right. Anthony Perkins was ordained as a priest as part of his research for this role. Yep, again, it's Anthony Perkins. It's sounding about right. But here's where it gets even a little bit more creepy. Kathleen Turner was initially hesitant about Ken Russell's suggestion that she smear yogurt over her lips to simulate semen. She complied with his request, but drew the line at gulping down an oyster to emulate swallowing ejaculate.
That's Ken Russell for you right there. Anyone seen this film?
No, but this is a film that fits a mold that was very much prominent through about 1982 to about 1989, 90 with these hardcore stalker, over the edge.
Yeah.
Not quite softcore porn, but right there.
That was Ken Russell for you.
Yeah. Well, Ken Russell, Brian De Palma, a few others.
So this DVD that I'm holding up here for the camera for the YouTube viewers here, this actually belongs to my wife. I was going through her. She has some old DVDs at her place in Australia, and this was last year. And she's like, yeah, go ahead and take some of these videos if you want them, and I was like, oh, Crimes of Passion. She's like, oh, that movie's good. You'll like that one. I said, never seen it. He says, yeah, Kathleen Turner, Anthony Perkins. He's crazy in that. He's awesome, blah, blah, blah. So I took it with me, and I just kind of had it sitting around. Then I realized that when this movie was coming up on the October docket of films, like, oh, wait, I have that film. I didn't enjoy it as much as my wife does. I'll be honest with you. What I did like about it, though, I thought Kathleen Turner looked great. I love the seedy side of Hollywood in the 80s. But it's weird, and Anthony Perkins is creepy AF. The only thing I liked about it is I don't think I've ever seen a movie that I did not like Annie Potts in. I love Annie Potts in this film. She's great. I can't think of any bad role that she's done, and I love her to death. I'll watch her in anything. She's great. I'm just going to spoil it because I just feel compelled to say it. Anthony Perkins dies when he has a metal dildo stabbed in his back.
Okay, so that happened.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. All right, guys, let's go to the next film. Next one is The Razor's Edge. Made about $6,600,000 in its original theatrical run. Stars, of course, Bill Murray. And the poster says, a thin line separates love from hate, success from failure, life from death, a line as difficult to walk as a razor's edge. Larry Darrell returns from the battlefields of World War I to America a different person. His fiancée, Isabel, resigns herself to delay in the wedding plans when Larry heads off to Paris. There he finds he prefers a simpler existence and begins to read. One book inspires him to visit India and on to Nepal, where he finds spiritual help from a lama. On returning to Paris, he finds Isabel and some old friends. Everyone has changed. Directed by John Byram, stars Bill Murray, Teresa Russell, the wife of Ken Russell, Denham Elliott, Catherine Hicks. Kyle, please give us some trivia on this because I need to talk about this film.
Okay, so in the talk of just how powerful Bill Murray was at this time, Bill Murray made a deal with Columbia Pictures that he would appear in Ghostbusters only if they financed this movie. Originally, no studio was interested in making the film until Dan Aykroyd suggested the deal to Murray. On the final day of shooting, Murray flew to New York City to start filming Ghostbusters. John Byram and Bill Murray wrote the screenplay over 18 months while driving around the USA. Larry Darrell's eulogy for Piedmont was inspired by the death of Bill Murray's good friend John Belushi. Columbia executives wanted the film set in modern times. Bill Murray insisted that the film be a period piece. In a 1993 interview with Entertainment Weekly, Murray admitted, "I was wrong and they were right."
Has anyone seen this?
I saw
long time ago.
Yeah, I saw like 10 minutes of it, and I was like, "Oh, it's not funny. I can't."
Yeah.
Bill Murray's great. He's fantastic, but his dramatic stuff is like gut-wrenching dramatic stuff.
Yeah, I couldn't finish this film, basically. Mm-hmm. I was curious about it. It's playing free, I think, on like Tubi or something like that, and I was watching it. And I feel like, you want me to do Ghostbusters? Fine, but you gotta do this film here. I want to do the dramatic thing, I want to do this, and I want to travel to cool exotic locations. Kind of like when Brad Pitt was like, I'm going to go to Tibet and do 7 years in it, and like no one cared about that movie, And I feel like this falls under that thing. It's just one of those, let's get serious and let's see different cultures and let's be a different person than we really are. We want to see you funny, Bill. And I'm so glad that they did this crap film, though, because we probably wouldn't have gotten Ghostbusters, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm good with not seeing it ever again. There you go. Next film, guys, is interesting. And Lacey, I think you had a problem trying to see it. I want to hear about that. Thief of Hearts made just over $10 million. The poster says he stole her diaries, broke into her dreams, and became her desires. Thief of Hearts. In the night, secrets are stolen. A woman trapped in a boring marriage begins an affair with a handsome man who seems able to read her mind. She doesn't know that he has broken into her house and reads her diaries. where she has recorded her deepest thoughts and fantasies. Directed by Douglas Day Stewart, stars Stephen Bauer, Barbara Williams, John Getz, and David Caruso. Kyle, give us some trivia first, please.
So this is about the point when all of a sudden we were really trying to make Stephen Bauer a thing, because this is the first top-rated lead role for him. They tried so hard. The second movie producer collaboration of producer partners Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer. I promise you there was plenty of cocaine somewhere in meetings and on the set of this movie. The movie was one of two 1984 releases the two produced together in that year. Their third collaboration was Beverly Hills Cop in 1984. Their first had been a little movie called Flashdance, Kevin.
Yes, and Faltermeyer did the music for it too.
Yeah,
his first,
it was the first American Hollywood film scored by Harold Faltermeyer. And this Paramount picture was often likened compared to the studio's earlier 1980 film American Gigolo, which had been made and released about 4 years earlier. At least about a half dozen key worked on both movies, including producer Jerry Bruckheimer.
So I mentioned this before we started recording, Kyle. I discovered this movie because of one of our favorite podcasts, The Rewatchables. Of course, Bill Simmons, Kyle, as you know, is the host of that. And he mentioned it in passing. I think he might have been talking about either Stephen Bauer or the Bruckheimers. And he brought this movie up and he said it was kind of hard to find. And I'm like, oh, wait, man, I got to check this out. And I like Stephen Bauer as well. And now, Lacey, you were trying to get it, but something happened. What happened?
Yeah, I went on Amazon and I ordered that and something else. And I it was supposed to be delivered, I don't know, it was supposed to be delivered a month or so ago. And then it was pushed back. And then finally it was supposed to be delivered 2 days ago and then didn't show up. And yesterday I got an email that said, your package may be missing. Please feel free to contact us for a refund or replacement. And I'm like, no.
Oh, that sucks.
I mean, I'll watch it next and we'll talk about it. I'll tell you how I liked it next time.
Yeah, please, because I actually liked this film. I thought it was good. It had a really good soundtrack in it. And he's basically, him and David Caruso are basically thieves and they work together. And he's got, of course, one of those large lofts somewhere in Los Angeles. And and they work in tandem together. So when people go out to dinner and they have a fancy car and they're rich or something like that, like this girl's husband is, they'll communicate saying, now you can go into the house. And he does that. And he finds her diary basically. And she gets really into stuff. And he's like, and then he falls for her and knows what she likes and dislike. And, basically gets into her life and she has an affair with him. And then, of course, things come to pass. And George Wendt is in it, by the way. He plays the friend of the husband that she cheats on. And David Caruso, kind of becomes like the really bad guy, and someone dies. And he doesn't die, though. He does escape, though. But it's kind of interesting to see, because we have all this, like we just talked about the music earlier. There's always this stuff happening about people watching other people. And I think the story's very cool. You got this thief who's good at what he does, and he falls for this girl, and he reads her diary to find out what she likes. And but then stuff happens, and she finds out, and stuff happens. So, anyone, Kyle, have you seen this?
I think I've seen this. It's one of those ones that it was HBO rotation for a long time, Cinemax, that kind of thing. And I know I've seen it there, but again, it's one of these movies too where. If we ever could bring back It Came from Tubi on Culture Clash, Kevin, we're going to have to catch up on a lot of these type of movies.
Yeah. Well, Lacey, when you do get it, please check it out. Let me know what you think. So, yeah.
It kind of sounds like an alternate version of, there was a David Tennant movie a little while back where he had a house and a car, and these two, the people who park your cars, two valets had a gig where they did the same thing. Where they would take the guy's key, but when they went to go rob the house while he was at dinner, they found out that he had someone locked up in his basement.
Oh wow,
it's a great flick. And David Tennant gives good creepy, but that kind of has the feel. I wonder if they drew from that. But yeah,
and Stephen Bauer is good as a lead. I know they were trying to Kyle. I know they were trying to make him a thing, and unfortunately, didn't really quite take off. But what you got other thoughts?
Oh no, she just mentioned creepy. David Tennant. If you also want creepy David Tennant, watch Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones, yeah.
Jessica Jones season 1. Yeah, definitely. Okay, guys, next one. I have never seen this film before. I watched it for the first time. This is Body Double, made about $8,800,000 in its initial theatrical release. Brian De Palma, the modern master of suspense, invites you to witness a seduction, a mystery, a murder. Body Double. You can't believe everything that you see. A young actor's obsession with spying on a beautiful woman who lives nearby leads to a baffling series of events with drastic consequences. As mentioned, and directed by Brian De Palma, stars Craig Wasson, Melanie Griffith, Greg Henry, and Dennis Franz. Kyle, give us some trivia first while we're going to show off our DVDs there, Lacey.
Okay, so Brian De Palma originally planned for this to be the first Hollywood film to boast unsimulated sex scenes. The studio thought a little differently on that. Yeah, I wonder. The Frankie Goes to Hollywood relaxed rock clip porno film sequence features penthouse pinup centerfold Lindsay Freeman billed as Alexandra Day, adult film star actress Annette Haven, uncredited, and Cara Lott billed as Pamela Weston, and horror movie scream queen Brink Stevens. Bret Easton Ellis's novel American Psycho, adapted into American Psycho, the movie in 2000, references this film many times. And it is one of Patrick Bateman's favorite movies, and he's rented it over 37 times. Kevin, I'm just going to say this now. Brian De Palma was like the king of just sensuality and pushing the edge in the 80s. I don't think there's really anybody who came as close to being in that position as he was.
Lacey, you have the Steelbook version. That is nice. Show that again, the cover.
It's the 4K. They did a 4K Steelbook. I hate Steelbooks as a general rule, but I'm willing to go Steelbook if I can get a 4K out of it.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous edition right there. Very cool. Nice.
It's really pretty. Yeah, I think that the only other person who does it almost feels like one step above like a Red Shoe Diaries, like the Zalman King kind of thing. Is like De Palma kind of steps one step up from Zalman King, I think.
Yeah, he tends to add though more clever story writing though. Brian De Palma, you got to give it to him for that, I think. Mm-hmm. And little bit of film noir as well. And he really hangs his hat on you can't believe everything that you see. And I didn't see the twist coming in this. And I was so happy earlier, was it last year or earlier, that I didn't have No Way Out spoiled for me as well. So it was nice to kind of see that happen. And Craig Wasson is the lead in this. And Greg Henry, who I know, of course, as the other villain that we see in Mel Gibson's Payback film. This is his, I don't know if you call it his breakout role, but I had never seen him in anything else of notice except for that one. But now seeing this one, and he introduces his friend to this house that he's watching. This house is real, by the way. It's this flying saucer looking house up on a hill where there's this like little vernacular train thing that can take you up it, or you can go up and down the steps. And he says, look, dude, you're down on your luck. Your wife's cheating on you. You can hang out here. I got to go, on this business trip. And by the way, there is a high-powered binocular here, and you could check out this hot chick that likes to undress down here at this house, right? And so, of course, he does, and he sees nefarious stuff going on, and he witnesses certain things, and it takes a turn. And I knew Melanie Griffith was in this film, but what surprises me is she doesn't come in the film until about an hour into it because of how the story's getting set up. And, and then it takes a twist. And then you see, of course, Dennis Franz being in there as well, doing his thing. And Greg Henry making the turn to the bad guy, which surprised me. Lacey.
I gotta say,
being Greg Henry shouldn't have been surprised. Go ahead.
Right. Well, the thing is, I've had this for a minute, because I went through a Greg Henry thing because I loved him. Guardians of the Galaxy. He plays Star-Lord's grandpa, and then you've got him in Gilmore Girls. He plays Logan Huntsberger's dad.
I totally forgot about that.
A ton of stuff. He's one of James Gunn's kind of go-to guys. He was in Slither as the mayor, which is one of his funniest performances. And so I had kind of gone through to see different things. So as soon as I saw that this was coming out, on a 4K, I went ahead and got it. I love Greg Henry so much that when first of all, when he was doing the whole murder thing, his walk, I can recognize his walk.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, that's okay. But when he said, did you see your face? And he says, no. I was like, oh, it's a bait and switch. Like immediately, like it's a bait and switch. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew it was a bait and switch.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, you should take a look at her face next time. She's gorgeous, or something like that.
Well, he's like noticing Melanie Griffith's like, dance and the little tattoo butt thing she's got going on. And it's but what's funny is like the guy is the lead actor. He's a struggling actor himself, and he has this panic attack in claustrophobia that gets to him, and it plays into the series. I thought that was kind of interesting that they put that in there. But then he's doing this video for this adult film, and Frankie Goes to Hollywood does the Relax song in this. So I was like, okay, they got the music of the time going in this. So I thought that was kind of cool. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Love the music on this as well. Kyle, have you seen Body Double?
I have seen Body Double. It's an intense film. It's a very sexy film. Again, it's Brian De Palma. This is yet another one too. This is one of those films where HBO showed it for a while, and then it kind of ended up hitting the Skinamax nighttime, because that was just one of their things for a long time. But this was a heavy cable rotation film, like a lot of Brian De Palma films were. And
Melanie Griffith, just cute, bubbly, adorable in this film.
A little bit of that, but incredibly sexy too. I mean, this movie really started a precursor to building her up to what I consider one of her defining roles in Working Girl.
Yeah, Lacey.
Okay, so two things. Firstly, the crazy part to me about this actor is that he was so obsessed with this situation and this woman's death that he went to auditions for a porno, got the role, and then had sex with this woman so that he could talk to her to find out if she was the person who was the body double. Like that is some like intense, like that is setting a goal right there.
Yeah, that's getting from A to B in a roundabout way.
Yeah. And secondly, the final scene of this movie is one of my favorite things. It is absolutely hilarious when it shows him like kind of going back to normal, where they're doing a shower scene where he's doing this, and they have to like stop, put the cable in, let's figure out where your hand is. Like as somebody who, like I've worked in film before, and like having to.
You're talking about the nudity scene of where he's going to put his hands, right?
Right, but it's the idea of putting a body double in. So
right.
He has to like stay still, and they have to like mark where his hand is, and he can't move, and the makeup has to come in while she comes out so they can bring the body double in. But marking that kind of stuff, that's so real, and it's so funny, and it's so ridiculous, and it just shows how like, you watch these movies and you see these sexy scenes and stuff, but you don't realize that there's like 37 dudes. One of them's like, picking his nose in the corner. Like it's not sexy when you make a movie. Like no matter what you're looking at, it's not sexy. And the final cut is amazing, and it'll be sexy and fancy and beautiful and whatever. But I love the fact that they had that last final scene and showed how they bring a body double in. That was kind of fun.
Yeah. All right, guys. The next film we have here is called Firstborn. Made a little over $6 million in its theatrical run. Jake Livingston had to grow up fast because his mother didn't. This is what the poster says. A teenager must protect his family when his mother's sinister new boyfriend begins exerting his authority in their home. 16-year-old Jake Livingston has always been the man of the Livingston home since his parents divorced. That is, until his mother started seeing Sam. Sam, an alcoholic and drug addict, introduces Jake's mother into a destructive lifestyle. Directed by Michael Apted, stars Terry Garr, Peter Weller, Christopher Collet, Corey Haim, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Robert Downey Jr. I want to get into the video stuff in a second here, but Kyle, I'd like you to read the trivia, please.
Yeah, this gets interesting. Corey Haim's first day of shooting was with Peter Weller, and he went up to compliment the older actor on his performance. Weller collared Haim, throwing him up against the wall to warn him not to speak to him after a take, and it took 3 assistants to separate him. Haim later admitted that he was terrified by the experience, but Weller was apparently method acting, unaware by anybody else. Welcome to acting, kid. Yeah. After meeting each other on the set of this movie, Robert Downey Jr. and Sarah Jessica Parker later dated until they broke up in 1991. Kind of surprised they dated that long, but in 1984, this had the misfortune of opening on the same day as The Terminator. Peter Weller replaced Tom Berenger in the lead male adult role of Sam. This was due to an automobile accident of the latter in Norwalk in the American state of Connecticut in the US of A.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine Tom Berenger in this? First of all, Lacey, before we talk about our videos here, have you seen this film?
Yeah, well, I've seen the first like 18 minutes of it. I was watching it as I was getting ready for this. It seems to be very slice of life kind of, 80s kids dealing with mom kind of a thing. We'll see how far we'll see where it goes.
Okay. Well, show you actually have the Blu-ray there, right?
Yeah. And if you look really close, that right there is Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
and Sarah Jessica Parker. Little bit.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They are the school friends of the lead actor.
Yeah.
Who is Christopher? I guess that is.
Yeah. Colette. Yeah.
Colette. Yeah. Yeah. And he's the one that's actually dating Sarah Jessica Parker in the movie, and then Corey Haim plays his younger brother. And I actually found this VHS copy, guys. And I found this a year or two ago because I was just like, I think I found it in a thrift store, and I was just like, wait, who is in this? And I looked at the cast going, I gotta watch this. And it's great because it says great movie price. Look at these old stickers right there, and it says great movie, great price, and then you open it up and there's the old school VHS right there with the stop thief protection on it.
Nice.
Originally sold for $14.99, PG-13. So, okay.
I got mine for $14.99 as well.
Nice. I watched it on VHS. It was interesting to watch. Okay, so I got some issues about this film. The cast is good. And as of course what the plot says is that you find out that it's a divorced mom, Terry Garr, 2 sons. She's dating the new boyfriend played by Peter Weller. And do you want me to get a little spoilery on this, Lacey, since you haven't seen it yet?
I'm getting ready. I'm going to watch it in 15, 20 minutes. We're good.
Okay. All right. I'd like to get your thoughts on it later, but the setting makes you feel like it's all the stepfather's fault, and it is not. The lead actor in this film, he's a dick. And he gets nasty too. It's basically 2 fiery heads bumping against each other. And what you find out though is that Peter Weller's character is secretly dealing cocaine, and he's wanting to basically open up a restaurant with it. I mean, he's not dealing with like drug cartels. He's just dealing with other sleazy guys. And he's trying to basically get his life going, but illegally, right? And then the kid finds out and they start bumping heads. And of course, Peter Weller's character is short fuse. Kid's got a short fuse. Kid starts being a dick to his friends. And Terry Garr basically is a drunk. Corey Haim is probably the only one that really has any sense anywhere in it. It was a really nice performance by Sarah Jessica Parker as the girlfriend. She's just great in it, and she's bubbly and stuff. And then she's the one that calls out the lead actor for being a dick to their friends, but basically just leads to these 2 almost killing each other, basically. And then cops get involved, but it's kind of a reflection taken to the worst degree of a lot of houses that were going through divorces, and the kids not accepting the new boyfriend or the new girlfriend of the mother or the father. This is taking it to the extreme. You remember the movie Stepfather? That was a horror film where the stepfather starts killing people. It doesn't go to that thing, but it does have its little nasty moments. But no one dies, but you really see really good acting, but scary acting from Peter Weller in this. So.
It almost feels like, because in the mid 80s is when like divorce rates kind of started to bubble, right? Women were allowed to, like, by the late 70s, women could have their own businesses, that without a husband, they could have their own credit cards, they could buy a car, they could do. And so all of a sudden they were no longer dependent on their husbands, especially if they were abusive. So they were like, I'm tapping out. Maybe
Yeah.
this is just one of those ones where somebody was like, hey, why haven't we made this movie yet? Like, for real.
Kyle?
There's a sliding doors thing, and you even see it in this film where if Corey Haim takes a slightly different path, he becomes one of our best actors.
He's good. He's a good actor. Yeah.
I'll
give it to him in that one. Yeah.
I think if there's a slot, if his path just goes a little bit right or a little bit left from what it did,
yeah,
he could be an Oscar-winning actor now,
and he doesn't get
redemption
into
like
issues.
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, he doesn't get into the drug issues and
stuff
like that. So yeah, but I do recommend the film. It's good. But the elder son, he's not all good. He's got a hot temper. So okay, so we mentioned earlier in the celebrity film debuts that Charlie Sheen had his first theatrical role in Red Dawn. However, I wanted to showcase a TV movie that he was in because it's an important film, and that is called Silence of the Heart, starring Charlie Sheen, Marriott Hartley, Sherilyn Fenn, Chad Lowe, Dana Hill, Howard Hessman, Sherilyn Fenn, Casey Siemaszko. So these are all really up and coming actors doing this TV film here. And basically what it is, Skip Lewis, played by Chad Lowe, is a 16-year-old who's been through some stuff. He has been having academic problems, and a girl whom he has been pursuing has told him that she has no interest in him. He tries to talk his parents out of this, but can't, or thinks that they won't understand. So he goes out and he drives his car off a cliff. Now his family's in denial, saying that the whole thing was an accident. However, his best friend Ken, played by Charlie Sheen, was the last person he saw before. Was told by Skip that if he was considering killing himself and is feeling guilty, that he wouldn't try to stop him. I wanted to bring this movie to the table, guys, here, because this was a TV film basically dealing about suicide. Suicide rates were becoming a big deal in television, in reality. And what I thought was interesting, too, is when I found this film, I thought I realized I had bought it and then forgot that I bought it. And I bought it again, all at thrift stores with two different covers. Silence of the Heart. I'm holding them up here, right? Wow. And Charlie Sheen is the one that's given the lead role in this, because basically you see Chad Lowe going through his issues here, and he's got this great car, and he seems to have everything going for him. And he's putting out the signs to people, but people just aren't reading them. And that's what this movie is about, is reading the signs. And the scene that they're referring to is he's playing pool with Charlie Sheen, or they're at a party, and he brings up, like, if you were going to kill yourself, would you tell anyone? And then Charlie Sheen's character goes, no, well, yeah, no, or something like that. And then he goes, nah, I probably wouldn't want to tell anyone. Maybe I would tell you, but I wouldn't tell anyone. And Charlie Sheen doesn't really put the pieces together. And the girl that he's in lust with, is putting him at arm's length. And there's a girl that's in the film that works at a pizza shop, a Chuck E. Cheese, by the way. She's the one that is good friends with him too, and she also is in love with him, but he's not reciprocating. And she was one of the last people to see him. But the interesting thing about this one is the parents, Marriott Hartley and Howard Hessman. Howard Hessman plays the father to the T of denial of everything. He doesn't believe that his son killed himself. He thinks that it was a car accident. He doesn't want to believe his son killed himself. Then Marriott Hartley is the one that starts doing the deep diving, and then they have to come to realization that they didn't see all of the signs. And there was some really good dramatic moments in this film, Lacey, especially with Marriott Hartley doing the detective work. Howard Hessman just being that stubborn father, not wanting to believe that someone would actually kill himself. And then everyone kind of like realizing the signs. Do you remember this film?
I vaguely remember this movie. I feel like this was kind of a precursor to Permanent Record, which was a Keanu Reeves movie that came out in like 88, I think.
Yeah.
Where his best friend killed himself, and everybody was looking to him like, what happened? You were the last person to see him. Like, what happened? I kind of feel like I might be mixing up bits and pieces of both of those. I tried to find this and I couldn't find it. Well, I found one, but it was in China and it would never have gotten here on time. And so I don't have it, but but I haven't watched it recently. But I do vaguely remember it.
Yeah, the transfer from the DVD, you could tell it's not a great copy. Like I think it came from a VHS recording or whatever recording they had. But I thought it was worth noting of a couple of things. The final film scenes with actions of Dana Hill, she ended up having health problems, but she's the younger sister. She's kind of spunky and annoying in the beginning, but she's the one that starts calling people out after he dies, especially during class and the teacher. And people, were ignoring all the signs. And she was actually one of the best actresses in this film. And she was really good in it. And when a character says life goes on, when referring to Skip, Chad Lowe's character, who has recently died, Chad Lowe would later co-star in the 80s, 90s series Life Goes On. Do you remember that series?
I do. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good film. Kyle had to step away real quick here. He'll come in when he does. Sure. But it definitely kind of feels like, the afternoon's TV special thing, but I think it was obviously a film that was like an ABC movie of the week or something like that. But good role. I would say in the trivia, I found out too that this is actually Charlie Sheen's first role, but his starring role in the film was Red Dawn. And you could tell he was coming up to be a good star. He was good as well.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Right on.
Okay. I think we got one more film that's kind of important, guys.
I mean, a little bit.
Yeah, kind of important. And this one is The Terminator. Dum 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 dum. Kyle, you back with us here? I don't know if you can hear us or not. All right. He's checking on his sound here. Lacey, you have an interesting video copy of this. I am going to showcase you here. So hold on here. I want to see this thing. What you got here?
This is for some reason, and I don't know why. It is a Blu-ray. It is not an HD. What was it? What did they used to call? When HD and
is HD and Blu-ray. Yeah, HD was in those like reddish maroon covers. Yeah.
Yeah, but for some reason this had a red cover. I don't know why. It is a Blu-ray. It's not the other, but it also came with a fun series of postcards.
Oh, that's very cool. Look at that.
That you can, and they're like photo quality.
Nice.
Very
nice.
If I can get close.
I like that.
There's like half a dozen. It's got like some pictures of, the makeup and
Yeah. Nice. Okay. And that is the red case version of the DVD, or is it Blu-ray? I'm sorry.
It's a Blu-ray. Yeah, it's Blu-ray, and it came with a digital copy.
Nice. Very nice.
So I don't know why, but it's in a red case. It's the only movie I've got that's in a red. Well, that's not true. I do have Cruella that came in a red case.
I found I think this was the 90s release of Terminator on VHS, and it's still sealed.
Wow.
I have this one here.
Nice.
I got this one at a thrift store, still sealed. This one came out in 91.
Nice.
Now, I do have a Blu-ray version as well. I did want to showcase. I love these lenticular covers. This one is from Walmart because it still has the Walmart sticker on it. And if you showcase, I'm showing here on the video where, there's a Terminator head. Oh, there's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Terminator head, Arnold Schwarzenegger head. And that's the slip cover of the DVD. And I just love the alternate covers of these.
Nice.
And I do have a couple other versions as well, but this one was one of my favorites I had to get during the release of the Deadpool.
Nice.
I got the Terminator Deadpool one as well.
Awesome.
And I love the back. It says, "I wish I was in this movie, but I'm not." Deadpool's holding.
That's awesome. I have several different versions of this and of the second one. I just, being as I had to bring everything upstairs because I've got some stuff going on. Where I'm not in my basement right now. So I sort of picked the one that I thought was the most interesting. I thought that was kind of cool.
Before I forget, I did want to mention this, and we are going to be doing a Terminator Couch Potato Theater later. And I did want to mention when I was in Australia earlier this year, my lovely wife and I went to Hamer Hall, which is a really nice place to see, theater productions and movies. And they had Terminator on the big screen with a live orchestra.
Oh,
and
that's fun.
If you know the music of this film, you got that dung 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 drum set going on, and they did a great job of showing the film and the orchestra doing it. And they had these two girls with these two gigantic drums with a big drum sticks doing that live, that dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. And it was great to see that live. It sounded great. Movie made almost $80 million, $78 million in its original theatrical run. I love that the poster says, in the year of darkness, 2029. We still have a few years, guys. The rulers of this planet devised the ultimate plan. They would reshape the future by changing the past. The plan required something that felt no pity, no pain, no fear, something unstoppable. They created the Terminator. A human soldier is sent from 2029 to 1984 to stop an almost indestructible cyborg killing machine sent from the same year, which has been programmed to execute a young woman whose unborn son is the key to humanity's future salvation. Directed, of course, by James Cameron. Writers, James Cameron, Gail Anherd, William Wisher. Stars, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, Michael Biehn, Paul Winfield, Lance Hendrickson. Kyle, are you back with us, sir?
Yeah, I just had a little power thing that kind of happened, and it's kind of been known to happen when we have our friend Milton coming to knock on the door. So I apologize to all the wonderful listeners.
That's all right. Kyle's in storm warning right now. But Kyle, are you also in trivia warning, or is the Terminator going to get you before it does it?
No. Give me just a second to get down there into the notes again.
I can do it if you're not there yet. I can do that.
I'm almost there. If you can just keep him at bay for 10 more seconds.
Dun 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 dun.
Pound those drums. Trivia. While shooting this film, James Cameron often resorted to what he called guerrilla filmmaking as a way of getting around acquiring permits needed to film certain scenes. This involved the production crew and actors quickly arriving at a specified location, shooting the scene, and leaving before the police arrived. As a result, some of the people seen in a few shots are actual everyday citizens completely unaware they're in a movie. This was also used for reshoots, with Cameron even calling and waking Arnold Schwarzenegger once at 3 a.m. to meet him at a location already in full costume to quickly reshoot a scene. Cameron also used this tactic to film the very last scene where Sarah drives off into the desert, waiting for the heat to rise to the point that the ripples would be filmed. A highwayman patrolman appeared. Producer Gail Anherd convinced him that they were working on a UCLA film project, and he allowed them to finish. Arnold Schwarzenegger worked with guns every day for a month to prepare for the role. The first 2 weeks of filming, he practiced weapons stripping and reassembling blindfolded until the motions were automatic like a machine. He spent hours at the shooting range and practicing with different weapons without blinking or looking at them when reloading or cocking. He also had to be ambidextrous. He practiced different moves up to 50 times. He wound up garnering a compliment in Soldiers of Fortune magazine for his realistic handling of the guns on camera, whereas the magazine usually lampoons movies for their inaccurate depictions of weapons use. Schwarzenegger tried to avoid Linda Hamilton and Michael Biehn as much as possible since the Terminator was trying to kill him, not from connections. Near the beginning of the movie, when Sarah Connor receives a message on her answering machine breaking her date, the voice on the machine is James Cameron's. Years later, Hamilton and Cameron got married and subsequently divorced.
Guys, this movie started a hell of a franchise. A lot of good stuff, a lot of not so good stuff, but it definitely Lacey, yeah?
No, go ahead. I was just saying whenever you're.
Yeah, sure.
I was waiting.
So this movie started quite a bit of stuff here. I do want to get your thoughts on the franchise itself. When you originally saw this, we'll go more into that, of course, eventually in a Couch Potato Theater. But I did want to mention, I did rewatch. Of course, I saw this film on the big screen with my wife, as I mentioned, and then I went and watched Terminator 2. And I have a hot take. I'm just going to share real quick. They're both rated R films. But after watching Terminator and Terminator 2, I don't think Terminator 2 deserves its R rating. And I will expand on that on Couch Potato Theater later this year. But Lacey, I want to get your thoughts on Terminator.
I think that this just proves that the machines are able to answer the question that everybody, that every therapist asks about, if you could go back in time, would you kill baby Hitler? Like, the machines would. The machines would. That's all I got. I mean,
the concept of the time travel I thought was genius too. Obviously a lot of jokes are made about Michael Biehn's character, stealing hobo clothes and, getting with, Connor and, then being his friend's, best friend's dad and all that kind of stuff. But boy, it still holds up. It's still scary. The practical effects of this are amazing. The guerrilla style shooting is also very cool. The of course the famous "I'll be back," but that whole like massacre at the police station is still intense, still phenomenal. Some great character actors in this film as well. But God, the music just really, really drives this. Kyle, your thoughts on Terminator?
This is an all-time classic. I mean, you're talking about an early James Cameron film, one of the films that really puts him on the map. It obviously puts Arnold on the map. It's become one of the greatest science fiction stories ever. I mean, we've always had the kind of story of technology being a downfall, but I think this just changed the bar for that kind of filmmaking. And I agree with you, Kevin. I think if we were to look back now, I could see Terminator 2 getting PG-13. It's right there.
Today it would be, yeah.
I think it'd be still right there on that borderline, but it could easily be. This movie's a hard R, and there's not even a question on it. But it launched so many careers. I think it changed science fiction. I think this is one of those movies in the 80s that really changed the direction of science fiction and the direction of action films. And for so many reasons, obviously Schwarzenegger being a big one, Cameron being a big one, but just the intelligence of the writing of this film, the honest fear I think it put into people as well, just with that future idea. I think there were people who came out of this legitimately like, this could be a reality. And I mean, that's even in the early 80s.
We have Skynet Day, August 29th, people celebrate that, which is weird, Lacey, what is some of your favorites of the franchise after this? What other ones do you like?
Everybody has the ones that they don't. I've enjoyed all of them for different reasons here and there. I loved the newer one where they kind of recreated Arnold digital.
Was that the Dark Fate one with Sarah returning?
Was that Genesis maybe, or was it
Genesis? Yes.
Yeah. And then you kind of flip things around with her coming in and saying, "Come with me if you want to live," like that kind of thing. I really enjoyed Anton Yelchin as Kyle Reese in what was the third one?
Terminator Salvation. No, that was the
Salvation. That one also had Christian Bale in it.
Yeah, Christian Bale, and then Christian.
Yeah, Christian Bale is John Connor.
Right. Okay, and then I also enjoyed River Tam. I can't my name.
Oh, yes, Terminator the Chronicles.
The Chronicles with
TV show.
The Sarah Connor Chronicles. Yes.
My brain is not giving me
Lena Headey,
Lena Headey and
Summer Glau. Yeah.
Summer Glau. Thank you. That's my brain was not having.
Also, Shirley Manson from the band Garbage played a villain in that as well. Yeah.
Okay.
I know we're fans of that TV series, Kyle.
We are very much fans of that TV series. Very frustrated. Another one that ended on a cliffhanger, but also made us really like Brian Austin Green as well, because he was really good in that series.
Yeah, he was. He was good. But yeah, I like you, Lacey. I was a fan of pretty much all the films. I don't hate either one of them. I do like Terminator 3 as well, even though it kind of ends on a down note. I thought that was good with Kristanna Loken as the other Terminator.
And the thing is, look, when it comes to movies, especially something that's a franchise like this, I go into movies wanting to enjoy a movie. There are plenty of fandoms where people just pick. I go to watch a movie. I go to enjoy it. Like, that's the goal, is to enjoy a movie, to spend 2 hours, suspension of disbelief, just enjoy yourself. So a lot of times I'm just there for the ride, It's just fun.
I think one of the most important questions, especially with the original one too, is how shocking was it to you guys the first time you saw it, to see that Terminator exoskeleton?
Yeah. It's just like, how do you kill this unkillable, device basically? And they've gotten clever on how they've done it in through the films. But I just, this ongoing future war where they have to keep sending back Terminators and people to stop the Terminators, it doesn't get old for me. I'll keep doing it, and yes, and of course the Sarah Connor Chronicles, were basically a direct sequel from Terminator 2, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
right, Kyle. Yeah. And I thought it was done well. I thought there were some good characters in that. Summer Glau, of course, playing the Terminator Protector, the Protector Terminator.
Very underrated Garrett Dillahunt performance too in that show.
Which one was he, Kyle? Remind me.
He was the original Terminator that was sent back to kill them. He came
he was very good. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and for all of you those that are listening or watching on YouTube too, Kevin's morning alarm is dun 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 dun.
Yeah, no, I this is a great series, and I was mentioning too. Of course, I have the Terminator Blu-ray version with the Deadpool slip card of it. I'm keeping that sealed. I love it, but I've got several versions of that film, and it's a favorite of my wife's as well. So yeah, we'll be coming around back to that one, of course, celebrating it again and stuff. So guys, that is it. That is October of 1984. And this is the movies of 1984 here on Time Warp, the Fandom Flashback Show. But you know what, guys? We still got a couple of more episodes of Time Warp 1984. And I just want to tease for next month. We've got November of 1984. And some of the films on that docket are Toy Soldiers. No, not that Toy Soldiers. The other one. Blame It on the Night, The Killing Fields, Nightmare on Elm Street, No Small Affair, Oh God, You Devil, Special Effects, Just the Way You Are, Missing in Action, Night of the Comet, Night Patrol, Raw Courage, Falling in Love, Supergirl, Bad Manners, and Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure coming in November. And it just occurred to me, guys, Nightmare on Elm Street came out in November, not in October for Halloween. That is just weird. Kyle.
Yeah. What Kevin is neglecting to tell you, his actual favorite movie on this list is Night of the Comet.
You know what's funny and timely about that is my wife sent me an Instagram reel of a trailer of that film, and she has never seen it. She's like, I got to watch this film. I'm like, yep, that's going to happen. So for sure.
You know what Kevin's doing while he's in Australia, ladies and gentlemen.
Guys, let's go ahead and wrap this up. All right, this is the Fandom Podcast Network. Of course, you are listening to Time Warp 1984. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please watch this video. We're showing, of course, all these cool slides and showcasing our physical media collection as well. Hey, Lacey, remember that time last month when Kyle trumped us and brought out, what was it, Kyle? The tell the listeners, what is it?
That would be Mighty Orbots, the animated series.
He has the whole DVD collection. So yeah. You can find our master.
I have one more for you too.
And Mask. Look at that. Is that the entire series right there? Mask.
Yeah.
Love that.
I'm gonna throw out one more third one because since I'm pulling out cult classics.
Is that Dungeons and Dragons, the cartoon?
Yeah.
Nice. Dungeons and Dragons. There you go. Nice. We love our physical media here. Love it, especially when Kyle busted out Mr. Digital himself there. So, but like I said, this is the Fandom Podcast Network. Our master feed for all of our audio podcasts can be found at fpnet.podbean.com. Of course, you can find our audio podcast on all major podcast platforms. And like I said, please visit our YouTube page. And we're also on Facebook. You can email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram and Twitter at Fandom Podcast Network. My name is Kevin. I am on X, Instagram, Threads, Discord, and Letterboxd at Spartan_Phoenix. Kyle, where can we find you?
You can find me in my new kingdom in the underwater city of Atlantis. Otherwise, you can find me on social media at AKyleW, or you can also find me on Discord at AKyleW. You can also find me on Instagram and Threads at AKyleFandom, and of course, all over the wonderful Facebook pages out there as well. And if anybody has a line on a seahorse, please give me a call.
Lacey, where can we find you?
I am Lacey Pants with 2 E's let's see, on Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever it's called, Blue Sky, Threads, Letterboxd, Discord, and I am the Lacey Pants on Instagram.
Awesome. Now, normally I do ask you guys of these films, which one that you haven't seen would you watch? And Lacey, I think the answer is obvious. You're going to watch Thief of Hearts whenever you get it, right?
And I'm gonna finish Firstborn right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'd be curious to get your thoughts on that. And Kyle, you have Gwendoline to see.
Yes. As soon as I am through my days of underwater city exploring, hopefully that will be all it will be is some rain and maybe a couple days without power, I will before our next episode of Time Warp have watched that, and I will.
Yeah, you will not be submerged underwater. You will be submerged to boobies. There you go. Sorry. Anyway,
October was a very boob-heavy month of.
It was the 80s. No. The 80s were a very boob-heavy decade.
You're not wrong.
Boob-heavy decade. I love that. That's good. Lacey, thank you so much as always. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Kyle, as always, get onto them boobies. And this has been Time Warp Part 10. 1984, celebrating October. Until next time, we will see you back in time on Time Warp. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.